you think had the lands of 1967 in 1967? The Hadassah? They had the lands, they had Judea, they had Samaria, they had Gaza, they had East Jerusalem. They had East Jerusalem and they went to war, and even a freshman can understand that if one has East Jerusalem and he goes to war, he might want West Jerusalem. Yes, maybe. They don't want this land or that land. They want to wipe out a Jewish state of any size, any shape, of any form. And what is wrong with these crazy people? Coexistence, of course. Coexistence between Jews and Arabs, of course. Meanwhile, I'm waiting for coexistence between Arabs and Arabs in Beirut. It is a pleasure. It is a pleasure to look at Beirut. I am deeply moved. I am humbled to see how Arabs live together with Arabs in Beirut. I am deeply moved. Shiites and Sunni and Druze and Christian, Hezbollah, like everyone kills everyone. But of course, we will live with them together because we have so much in common. There must be something intrinsically crazy about Michael Lerner or Axelrod. Their guilt is so endemic that it's frightening. But they won't suffer because one lives in Berkeley and one lives here. If they're wrong about the Arabs, we'll suffer. Not they. Not they. The Arabs don't want peace. Get that clear. There is not going to be peace. And don't let Axelrod say, Kahane doesn't want peace. Where does he live and where do I live? It's my children that are in the army and not his. I want peace infinitely more than Axelrod wants peace. I have a far greater personal stake in peace. Of course I want peace, but I'm not a fool. Wanting something and getting it are two very different things. There's not going to be peace. So I want at least survival, They're killing us, they're destroying us, and they are winning. And we are losing. And that's the tragedy. Our soldiers, the morale is broken, they're frustrated, they're bitter. Half of them want not only to leave the territories, they want to leave the country. If not for U.S. quotas, thank God for quotas on immigration, thank God. If not for that, half of Israel would be driving taxis in New York City on their way to Los Angeles. And that's not funny, that's a tragedy. That's a tragedy. It's not the stones that are the threat to us. It's not the Intifada that's a threat to us. The threat to us comes from within the state of Israel itself, the Arabs who live inside Israel. And Jews who don't understand that there's not one Arab in Israel who wants to live in a Jewish state. You think that there's one Arab in Israel who wants to live in a Jewish state? Let me see how many people in this room would like to live in Jerry Falwell's Christian state here. Let's see. That's exactly how many Arabs want to live in the Jewish state. The contempt for Arabs is unbelievable on the part of liberal Jews. The contempt. If we raise their living standards, then they'll be good Arabs. We'll give them electricity, indoor toilets, then they'll sit quietly. The concept that you can buy a person's national pride by raising his living standards. What contempt for the Arabs. Not by bread alone shall man live. That's in the Bible. And that goes for Arabs too. They have national pride. And I hear Jews saying, but they live better than all the Arabs in Iraq. As if that matters. As if that is relevant. National pride and living in your own national home, that's what concerns the Arabs more than a living standard. And the tragedy is that liberals who think that you can buy everything don't understand that that's not true. How many times have I heard cabinet ministers, Jewish leaders, at a breakfast to raise money for the UJA, or a brunch, or a lunch, or a dinner, or a supper, whichever way Jews raise money by eating. How many times have I heard a Jewish leader, a cabinet minister, get up and say, we came to the country, we found a desert, and we turned it into a garden. Now write a check. Well, you try that on an Arab, and here's what he'll say. You're right, that's true. But it was our desert, now it's your garden. That's what the Arab will say. But our contempt for Arabs is so incredible that we understand nothing, we hear nothing, we see nothing. Is there one Arab in it, a quarter of an Arab, who enjoys living in a state that has as its law of return a law of return which applies to Jews only? If you're a Jew, you can come to Israel any time, be a citizen. Automatic. That's what the law says. That is the law. If you're not, you can't. You have to go through a process, 5 years and so on. You think that's... Let me ask you a question. That law, what if Ben-Gurion had not passed it in 1950? It was his law. What if it had not been passed, and when I was in the Knesset, I would have presented that as a bill, word for word. Do you know what they would have called it? That's right, racist. How come it's not racist now? But every Arab calls it racist. Every Arab calls it racist. How many Arabs enjoy singing their national anthem? Hatikva. Please. The Israeli Arab stands up, picture the scene, rises to sing his national anthem. His shoulders are back, chest thrust out, pride coursing through his veins as he sings the words, Nefesh Yehudi Homia, the soul of a Jew yearns. Tears. And when he concludes with the words, the stirring words, Liot am chavshi be'artzeinu, to be a free people in our own land. Tears down his cheeks as he says to himself, how my Zayda waited for the Jews to come home, to be a free people in their own land. Every Tisha B'Av, the Arabs would run to the Wailing Wall, where when are the Jews coming home? You have to have deep contempt for the Arabs to believe that. Yom Ha'atzmaut, Independence Day in Israel, the Arabs rush out into the streets to celebrate their defeat. Yes, you have to be a very special kind of a fool to believe that. They hate the country, they believe we are thieves, and they look forward to that day when Israel will be Palestine. And that day is coming, because if we continue in this way, it is coming. The Galilee today has a majority of Arabs. Know that. We're talking Judea, Samaria. The Galilee today is 54% Arabs. If you travel today on the Akko Tzfat road, except for Carmiel, there is nothing Jewish there. You are in Palestine. Have you been to Akko? Not just visiting the old city as a tourist. Do you know what is happening today in Akko? It is a city that is rapidly becoming Arab. rapidly becoming Arab. Jews are running away. Haifa, Lower Haifa is Arab today. Up to Hadar, it is Arab today. Halfway up the Carmel already. Have you seen Jaffa? Have you seen Ramle? Have you seen Lud? Do you know what is happening there? Their birth rate is 4 times that of the Jews. And we pay them for every baby born. Because we are not normal. Every child born until the age of 18, the parent gets a check every single month. Last year there was an item in the paper, in the Palestine Post, sometimes known as the Jerusalem Post, about a Bedouin from Rahat. Rahat is a town in the Negev. In other words, an Israeli Arab. Father of 48 children. 48 children of 6 wives. Every month he goes to the post office in Beersheba, picks up 48 checks and laughs all the way home. You think that we're normal? No. Normal people don't subsidize their own suicide. They don't need stones. They just have to sit. They just stop making war, and every night make love instead of war. How many Arabs will there be in Israel, just the way things are going now, in 5 years, in 10 years, in 15 years, in 20? How many Arabs will be there? Israel will become rapidly a Northern Ireland, a Sri Lanka. That is what is happening. And we sit quietly and babble about coexistence. In 5 years, you'll be watching television, Peter Jennings in the Galilee saying, today 5 Arabs were shot dead by soldiers in the Galilee. You want that? I don't want that. I don't want to kill Arabs. I don't want to break Arabs' heads. I just want them out of my country. I wish the Arabs well elsewhere. May they live happily elsewhere. They have 22 countries. Let them live in 1, 2, or any of them. I don't have 22 countries. The Jewish people doesn't have 2 countries. The Jewish people has 1 country. And on that there is no compromise. I want them out. I don't want them to kill Jews, and I don't want to kill them. Let them hate me outside the country. Let them live happily or unhappily with their own cousins in Jordan. If they want to call Jordan Palestine, fine. If they want to call Jordan Axelrod, whatever they want to call it. Whatever they want to call it, they may call it. But not in my country. I want them out, and they will go. And they will go. So people ask, but how can you throw out 1 million people? So first, it isn't 1 million people. It's about 2.3 million people. Let's get facts straight. What do you mean, how do you throw them out? In 1945, the Poles and the Czechs expelled 12 million ethnic Germans from their countries. Do you know that? After World War II. 12 million Germans who had lived in those 2 countries for 1,000 years. Do you know why? Because in the years preceding World War II, those ethnic Germans, Sudetenland and Danzig and Silesia, were a 5th column that brought on Hitler. So when World War II ended, and the Poles and Czechs licked their many, many bloody wounds, they, in their own way, said, never again, and they threw them out. And the Poles didn't stop and say, but what would the world say? And what will America say? And how can we throw out 12 million people? They gave them 48 hours and said, what you can carry, take out. And they left. And they left. And they're now living happily, or I don't know, happily or not happily, in West Germany. When India and Pakistan came into being in 1947, 18 million Hindus and Muslims exchanged. They fled. Cyprus is now quiet. You know why? Because the Greeks fled fled south, the Turks fled north, and now for all purposes it's two